I discovered a YouTuber that lives in Northern Nicaragua, so I decided to drive up to his small pueblo on the Honduras border. What happened next really surprised me. We are making our way over to this man's coffee farm. Things are gonna be awesome today. We're gonna make some more content with him, and I'm really excited to see the process of how he specifically makes his own coffee and sells it here. Let's say that again. So what is there around this area?
So right now we're in the mountains of La Segovia. Known for coffee but also gold. So there's a couple gold mines here. These mountains are rich with gold. There's Las Minas de San Albino that operates 24/7 pulling gold, and then we're also going to pass through some areas where they're artisanal gold miners, so people pulling rocks, crushing them, taking the gold out and then selling it. So
the OG way, right?
Yeah, the old school way.
Here it is. We are in the mountains, getting into the thick of it. Look at this. We're getting close to coffee country, and the cattle, the run of the cattle, the run of the bulls, they are conquering the roads here.
They're in their morning walk, you know, they have to get their cardio also.
Getting the cow cardio here. As you can see in the video, this is a lot of mud, and two things impressed me while I was here with Elton. One, that Elton was even able to drive around these crazy obstacles and managed to get us all the way up to the top of this mountain, and two, that the tires on the truck were even able to grip onto the insanely wet and muddy terrain that we were driving up. After slipping on mud for about 30 minutes, alas, we made it and the adventure continues. This is where the family lives?
Yeah, we're gonna get down there.
I am booted up and we are ready to roll. Boots and bros. Two bros on the coffee farm.
So you take a look at this. Oh man, I get excited every time I see this, mainly because I'm a coffee nerd. But yeah, so this is a Parainema variety. You can see that here we have coffee beans. So it's actually a seed that's inside these cherries. So I'm gonna go ahead and pluck one. We'll pluck this variety here. This is the Parainema variety, and I'm gonna open it for you guys. So on the outside you have the skin, what in Spanish we call pulpa, but you can peel the pulpa off, and look at that. You can actually eat this. It tastes pretty good. And then inside of the pulpa, then you'll have the two seeds. So usually it's a pair of seeds, and there it is. And that's what we call café pergamino. So right now it has this sticky layer outside that needs to be processed and go through further steps before you can roast it. But down to the farm level, that is a coffee seed right there at its pergamino stage.
And this, at this maturity, it can be roasted, it can be produced into coffee already.
So after this, you have to ferment it, wash it, dry it, remove the husk, sort it, and then you can roast it.
That's a process. Are we gonna check out any parts of the process here at your farm?
Yeah, we can look a little bit into the process.
Cool. So this is, it looks a lot like a grape seed.
Don't bite the seed, just like
when
you put it in your mouth.
It looks like a grapefruit, a fruit that's a grape. And then it has the seed, which is the coffee bean inside.
Don't bite the seed. You're not biting the seed.
No. And this has like yeah, the super bitter outside. Inside's a bit sweet. And here we have
coffee seed.
Two more coffee beans, or seeds as it's actually called. And this is the first step, huh?
Yeah, that's the first
and
step.
Making it to your door, over wherever you're buying it, probably mostly in California.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can actually make tea out of this. So people dehydrate this, and then they have these little dehydrated skins, and then when you put water in it, you'll make tea out of this. So it's called coffee pulp tea. So if you're ever at a coffee shop and you read that, this is what you're drinking.
When we ate the outsides of this, does it have any caffeine in it? I feel like I felt like a little bump from that.
Yeah,
a little hit of energy.
That's a good point. Yeah, it does have a slight little caffeine. It's a lot less, but it does have caffeine.
That's very interesting. Very cool. Cool to see this. Cool to get the taste and the flavor and to really see how it begins, the real full process. So what are we seeing here, Elton?
Yeah, so when it comes to coffee and you're picking coffee before harvesting, right? You want to look at it first and you want to find a burgundy color, like a deep red like this one right here. You see that? The reason you want to find this kind of color, that means the bean has matured, all the sugars, all the flavors have developed. So if you pick a bean that's lighter than this, you're going to get an unripe bean. So it's sort of like a mango, right? If you don't pick a mango the right color, you're gonna get sour flavors. But you pick it the right color, you'll get the good flavors. So that's what you want to do.
Right. Is there a certain amount of time you need to pick it after it ripes to that certain color?
No, it's a good question. If I do leave it on there for like 2 more weeks, eventually it'll fall off.
It'll just fall off.
Yeah, it'll become way too dark and it'll pop
and when they do fall off, do people like in your farm, do they pick them up off the ground, or do they just normally just pick it up from the plants themselves?
We try to do the plants because it's hard off the ground. And if you let it fall on the ground, you might get a plague called broca. And broca is an insect that will enter the bottom of the bean and it will eat the inside of the bean and you won't be able to use it.
So basically when it falls on the ground, you basically don't use it anymore. Usually.
No, you can pick it up if it falls right there, but if you leave it, you might get an infestation of insects coming.
So you wouldn't go around and just sift through the floors and pick up all the red ones.
Now you want to do a good job of the timing your farm.
Specifically on the plant.
Yeah.
And maybe is there, I'm sure we can see the way that they're picking it afterwards. So I suppose we can go over there and check it out.
Yeah, we can check it out. Yeah. So when you're planting coffee, it's good to plant other trees around it. Here we have a cacao tree, which it's the bean that you make chocolate with. But coffee tends to take on the flavors of the plants that's around. So if you look at cacao, if you look at banana, then when you drink this coffee here, you're gonna be able to taste that. For example, some of the notes of this of this coffee specifically is chocolate, cacao, cola, and I think it comes down to these kind of native plants that are around.
So for example, we have a coffee plant right here.
Yeah.
And a coffee plant right behind it, right next to it.
Here.
And all of these will probably have some sort of cacao chocolatey flavor to them.
Yeah. So this is La Despinta. So here you have the coffee cherries that matured early that we're working on pulling off. And you can see that you have some that are really ripe and some that need a little bit longer. And the reason we're pulling everything evenly is because we're not going to touch this plant until a month from now. So if we left those on there, they'll eventually fall. So we actually need to harvest them. But yeah, that's what you see here. And he's been going at a... ¿De cuánto se dilata en segunda de esta, llenar una vez?
La segunda, como usted.
La
Si
segunda.
está bueno, media hora nomás.
So he's saying half an hour to fill it up if the harvest is good. But right now they're going a little bit slower because there's more green than red.
Right.
Watch out. And because some of the challenges that you'll run into are like insects. You can't really see it through the camera, but this is infested with ants right now. See? So you might be harvesting, accidentally get a spider, get ants on your hand, you know. So it's not an easy job. I think most people don't realize where your coffee comes from. How much hard work. Because after he's done with this, he's gonna have to pull this out of the mountains that we almost just fell a couple of times on, you know. And the way it works, so after coffee is picked, if you guys remember, the coffee cherry, you have to remove the skin. We bring it to this area because this is where we depulp it. And what happens is you put a machine here, and then at the top the cherries get loaded, and they're right here. Then they land inside the machine, and then the machine will spin and take the skin off the cherry, and then the coffee beans will sit here and ferment. After they ferment, they'll be washed.
This is the fermentation vessel here, and they're kept up above.
Correct. Yeah.
After they're harvested.
La tolva in Spanish. That's where coffee cherry pickers will come and throw their harvest up there. You'll measure and count how many they harvested, and that's how much they're gonna get paid for that day. And then they'll
for each bushel or each bucket.
For each bucket, each lata, they'll get paid.
Yeah.
Then they'll sit up here. Then the machine is placed, and they'll start flowing down, and the process begins. What we have here is called the raised bed. So this is where we dry the coffee. So when we depulp and we wash it, right, after fermentation, we spread these out above ground and we throw the coffee in here and let it dry. So these are good because since it is perforated, you get air on both sides. So the coffee dries evenly, so you get a better tasting cup versus like putting it on the floor. You might get one side of the bean that's like sweating at the bottom, and at the top the sun's just like beating it all day.
Yeah.
Here you can just move it and it gets circulation all the time.
And on a normal harvesting time of year, I see 4 beds. Is this how many you have in total, or do you have more?
Right now we're like 20 here and then 20 in Ocotal, which is the city. So I can't fully dry the coffee here because it's too humid. It gets to a point where water introduces back into the coffee if I leave it here.
Yeah.
So after 4 days, I need to pull it out of the mountains and take it to the city where it's hotter and put it back on beds to dry it.
So my viewers probably already know I talk about traveling by motorcycle. I believe traveling by motorcycle is the only way that I could possibly do this type of trip. Being in a car or a truck for me is impossible, uncomfortable, too slow, and I've done it. That's what I've done. I drove from Minnesota down to Nicaragua, and you're here now, and I'm curious, how did you make your way down to Nicaragua?
Yeah, so it's going to be a funny story. So I actually rode my bike, like a bicycle, from San Francisco all the way to Nicaragua. So I spent 5 months on the road with a tent, a pair of shorts, and some bike repair stuff. And I made it to Nicaragua after 5 months on the bike.
So did you go alone, or did part of this tour have someone that accompanied you?
So I rode my bike from San Francisco all the way to Guatemala. That was by myself. So it was 4 months of the trip. And then my wife flew out in Guatemala with her bike. And we biked from Guatemala to Nicaragua for a month. So people say that it's dangerous to travel. I'm living proof that you can do it and you'll be fine. So is here. I mean, like, we've been traveling for a long time now through these countries, and we've been nothing but safe and good people that we met on the road, you know?
And you also have some funny stories about doing the entire trip down and borders and all that. I mean, we shouldn't get into it. I also have stories about that. So if anyone's interested in hearing the rest of these stories that we're talking about, driving and biking on a bicycle, right, using a push bicycle through Latin America, I mean, at least San Francisco to Nicaragua, and then my trip continues, let us know in the comments. We'll definitely continue that. Are we going to go taste some of your awesome coffee now?
Yeah, let's do that. Taste some coffee and taste some food. All right, so right now we're grinding the coffee fresh from the farm. So what do you usually drink in the morning?
So, my friend, I am basically the person you wouldn't want to try advertise your coffee to, because I don't have enough time to make high quality coffee. You know, going through a strainer or this type of process, the higher, like, if you're trying to really enjoy it, it's kind of difficult for me to do that. I work super early in the mornings teaching online, and I teach Asians, so really early. I drink instant coffee, and surprisingly, the instant coffee I found here in Nicaragua is from beans in Mexico.
Wow, wild. So actually, this is the first time you're gonna try Nicaraguan beans, maybe? I don't know.
I actually have bought a Nicaraguan blend that was on sale during Black Friday back in Granada. I can't remember the name of the brand, but it was pretty good. It had like a chocolate flavor, but I think yours will blow it out of the water.
Yeah, it's called this right here. So that's some stuff.
Round thing of coffee here.
And right now, this coffee was this year's harvest, actually. So we're about to start harvesting Nicaragua, we've been talking about in the videos. But the method that we're going to use today to make this coffee is old school. So living in Nicaragua, you'll see this. This is what people most commonly use, which is coladora. Kind of like a sock to filter your coffee. So
I call it the butterfly net.
The butterfly, that's a good one. That's the butterflies, right? Life in the tropical jungles, that's what happens. You know, the weather comes and shits. There you go.
So this is what type of variety of coffee?
So you're actually drinking a blend from the farm, and it's Arabica. So it's all the plants that you saw today.
Every one of the varietals. Could you list off the varietals again?
Parainema, Placas, Capoí, Catimor, Lempira. So plants that have been existing for a long time here, all blended in.
Well, salud.
Salud.
Appreciate this higher quality luxury coffee that we're having here in your beautiful farm. All right, guys, this has been an absolute eye-opening experience, a great way to see the process of how coffee is actually produced in the places it really comes from. This was an absolute blast to taste your coffee as well. I mean, your coffee is really high quality. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
And I really want to say, what good coffee, guys. Where can people find your coffee, your social media, and content that you're producing? And let us know about that.
Yeah, so my coffee is online, immensecoffee.com. So when you go on there, you'll see a picture of the farm and the people here. And when you buy the coffee, that's pretty much directly what you're getting. So this right here we're drinking, you'll get it to your home freshly roasted and delivered there for you to drink and try.
And besides the online website for your coffee, you have the channels that you produce about not only coffee, but your passion, which is living in Nicaragua, right?
Correct. Yeah. So Immense Coffee Movement on YouTube, and then all my content about life in Nicaragua, my vlogs, and everything I do is on there. So definitely check it out.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, bro, for showing me your farm. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you had some value and you had some good entertainment here from this entire experience we had. And I hope you can check out the following videos and former videos about living in Nicaragua. They are absolute gems. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Hasta la próxima.
Adios.